blended, within that HVAC component, we can substantially reduce that number. And if you think about North America, just in North America, we've probably got somewhere in the vicinity of $350 billion worth of actual retrofits to go and do. That's how much old equipment is out there. And you're looking at something that pays back on average right around 2 years. So think about that as an investment. I mean, it's, what we've had to do is really invent the wheel over and over and over again, because clients just flat out don't believe that you can knock that much savings off what we're doing. So we've had to go and put in meters and measure it and get your baselines, get the engineering staff to validate what your savings are, get the utility companies in to explain why they're going to rebate this in the manner that they do, and then once they understand it, then you get a deal.
Could I just
Please
address
do.
this in part by emerging technologies? We can't put all of our eggs in the technology basket. These guys obviously have some good technology going. At the University of Colorado, it was mentioned several times today, the importance of adequate investment in research is a critical component, even in reduce energy demand by 85% with current technologies. We have two remarkable researchers, Run Ji Yang and Zhuobo Yin, who have developed a thin film metamaterial that has the potential to revolutionize cooling systems in the building, in that they put this material on the windows and it reads the sun, it cools the building, and it brings it down to a near zero ongoing, energy use. So you keep that building cool through alternatives, with all due respect to the HVAC system. You've got some material. We've also got another remarkable researcher working on the development of biobricks, which will use materials that will actually provide not only the structural integrity of the building, but also allow that building to sequester carbon in the life of that building. And that building also, in the materials used, will remain inherently much cooler than having to use mechanical systems to do so. So again, don't put all your eggs in the technology basket, but the human species is remarkable in our capacity to invent and innovate.
Wow. I want to actually get the audience involved here. If folks have questions, and maybe we can get some mics running around. And I know that, everybody, it's late in the day, we're all tired, we're not ending with the sexiest panel, we don't have underwater turbines up here. We're talking about the built environment.
Look at us, mate.
Okay, all right. Well, I wasn't talking about, the people on the panel are sexy, but we're talking, when we talk about the retrofit of the built environment, we're either, I understand it's just about a 25-year life cycle, where you're either remodeling it or you're knocking it down and building it again. Now, that requires a lot of materials, raw materials, and we burn a lot of carbon getting those when you go through the entire, the entire chain. So, can I get a show of hands? How many people in this room own a house? A house? So look at that. Own a house. So the point is, there's a lot of property owners here. And that means that you're paying taxes, and that means you're probably members of, HOA associate, these kinds of things that are determining, in a lot of ways, your energy use, right? So I think, let's go. Do we have any questions here? Hold on. I see this guy over here put up his hand first, and then we'll come right over here. John, is that you back there? Yeah, John.
John Powers.
Anschutz Medical Center was confronted with the same problem of supercooling, and one of the things they looked at was using solar and batteries and direct current as a backup system, and didn't know if that would be applicable to what you need to get done at the University of Colorado.
Absolutely is.
Happy to help.
When people talk about 100% renewable aim, efficiency first, renewables second. So we like to say, eat your vegetables first, then you get your dessert. Obviously, you've heard many times, John, and you know this, that storage is the mecca for use of greater reliance on renewables. absolutely underway at our campus as well. And ideally, we of course have 4 campuses. It would be a remarkable thing if all 4 were knit together as a system. Amory talked about the systems approach, and I think that integrating efficiency, the stepchild, among the resources to be sure, knitting that together in a systemic fashion is going to be a critical component as well.
Great.
Not to mention the association, you mentioned Anschutz. I was thinking about that as I was listening today too. What's going to motivate us to pay more attention to this? And I think that public health is really coming forward as a key strategy that tells that story. It says, how are we going to get a little rowdy to say, how do we call for sufficient investment in energy efficiency for starters?
DC. Yes. We have a microphone. Let's wait till the mic because it doesn't translate.
Go there.
Up here in front, and then we can go back.
Sorry about that.
So as to not.
Thank you. So, Chip, as you know, I wanted to volunteer that you connect with all of you with Wang Ming. He cannot really leave China anymore because the government has discovered that they have a treasure there, and he is so busy, he hardly ever leaves anymore. But he's very, very happy to get on Skype or on Zoom, and I can arrange that for any of you or anyone here.
So for those of you who don't know, Wang Ming is the solar king of China and has a mile by mile campus that is extraordinary, and he has super low efficiency homes and lots of strategies. Why don't you just give him a quick backgrounder on that?
So pretty much he has a city of nearly 7 million citizens that use renewables. And then he has a solar valley. How big is it? 1.5 million square feet, I believe, or meters. And he has a whole campus. He has a whole hotel. You can just go look at the little sign up there. It says Solar Valley. It's sitting on the table in there. But one of the things that he did, he worked with the government of China a few years ago to refit all these old schools. And they were schools, and they were about some of them 100, 150 years old. And so he has the whole technology. And one of the things, he is the most generous and loving human being. And he will sit with you, any one of you, and will give you the information, and you can just download it. He has given up. He's not going to sell any products or anything here in the States. It's, you know, the whole Chinese-American thing that's happening. But the one thing is that he adores our day. He sends all his love to everyone here. He wishes that he could be here. And next time, let's have him by Skype.
So we're running out of time, and we need a question. But he is an Ardale alumni, and we love his work, and we want to make a green bridge to China. And we're going to talk about that in detail tomorrow night with Yan Feng. And anybody who's interested in the subject, don't miss the movie tomorrow night called Better Angels. Amazing. So do you have a question?
No.
No?
Just wanted to give help.
Okay, because I know this guy does, and we're running out of time. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, I think this stuff is like very interesting or sexy, whatever term you used up there. My question is this, it's kind of twofold. You went back and you were showing some of the brands that you did work for, restaurants, hospitals. Without me trying to ask you what defining the metric, but from a metric or measurement perspective, can you extrapolate just how much you have saved or will save in the aggregate over a period of years just from your business model, however, by whatever precision you want to do. My second question, which may be more important, and that's this. I see you're kind of in the consumer-facing businesses where, you know, the real estate's kind of somewhat predictable and you can get into the machines and stuff. But just talk a little bit about evaluating how you could ever get into the manufacturing sector with some of your work, because it's so difficult to decarbonize in the big manufacturing plants. And that's really where a lot of the challenges are in this space. And I'd just be curious, you're in the private sector, you're like the shining example of like R&D and how to go about decarbonizing, but it's also very difficult depending upon what these buildings and operating techniques are.
Sure. Long question. To answer your first part of your question, it depends on the vertical and building envelope that you're looking at, but someone like a Morgan Stanley, you know, you're probably looking at saving them anything from $450,000 to $600,000 a year per building They've got 600 buildings. Someone like a supermarket, you're looking at, a big supermarket chain, 20, 30 million bucks a year in their electricity use. So for someone like them that's operating on small margins, that can be a big number. If you're looking at a small restaurant, it depends on how many, like a Bob Evans, for instance, we can save them $1 million a year on just their walk-in component. To answer your second part of your question, we're cognizant of all that. We're trying to find a way to put carbon into parts that we can use in an effective way for something like energy efficiency, right? How do we use some of that carbon and turn it into a part? Stronger, lighter, balanced, and when you hook it up to a meter, it's 50% more efficient. So, it's hard to really answer your question with 30 seconds left, but there's certainly, a lot of thought around the manufacturing process of how do we create a carbon fiber fan blade, and how much portion of that is actual carbon fiber.
Right. Okay, a couple seconds left, so just quick concluding remarks from you, Brian?
As John had said, we look at the entire building envelope, and when you start adding all these turnkey, holistic technologies, you put them all together, it does make a big impact. So we teach people how to cut their usage, curtail as much as you can with all the technologies. Then, like you said, then we add the renewables on top of that, and it makes these projects make a lot of financial sense. Going from an 8 to 10 year return on investment for just a solar project to where you can get it into 3 or 4 year payback.
Great. And Heidi, why don't you take the last word?
Let's work on getting the price right. Eat your vegetables.
Nice work, Heidi.
Thank you.